So today's video actually started with a dream I had about a month ago. Now this dream I was on a hike up in the wilderness, and as I turned around, I noticed there was almost tree height werewolves walking around. It was very odd. They ended up chasing us a little bit, but I just remember for the rest of the dream like walking around the property and just being wary of the werewolves nearby. They didn't really interact with us much, but it was just like that fear of walking around, kind of like being in a horror game when you're expecting the jump scare or something to follow you. It was the same sort of concept. But anyways, as far as mythical creatures, the werewolf was never at like the top of my list. I like dragons and I don't know, that kind of stuff. But along with this dream that I had, I looked up these reference images and I got really inspired to try something a little bit different with my sculpting. So let's get started.
This that shit to make them all go dummy. Now I got bread, they all want something from me. Showing like pros, man, I told them that it's money. And I own my own bars, just like it's always sunny. Ugh, thought she said something to me. We were never friends, told them I am not your buddy. Now they all call, I got some buzz like honey. Then they check the Spotify and they looking at me funny.
I started my sculpt with just a regular sphere and pulled out some proportions for the nose and snout. And from the beginning, it honestly looked more cat-like than it did werewolf slash canine-ish. But as I kept playing with the shapes, I began to get more of that almost humanoid canine look going. Get a load of this guy over here. You helping set up? No, you're so adorable. This is Nico, by the way.
We were never friends, told them I am not your buddy. Now they all call, I got some buzz like honey. Then they check the Spotify and they looking at me funny. I don't blame you, dog, that's how this shit goes. Same two paths, we just pick different roads. Glue on the safe, I just stuck to the code. Now they tell me that I'm driven, bruh, I already drove. So diverse, got too many flows. Checks coming in, got too many O's. Remember in the past, had too many lows. Now when I look around, got too many bros. Don't like to spend it, I told them I'll save it. Now that I'm here, dog, I seen it, they hate it. I'm making hits like I'm running those bases. And they taking shots, bro, I know that they faded. This that shit to make them all go.
Moving forward, I began to follow some more of my references. My initial reference was this white werewolf, but for some reason I decided I didn't want to do fur. I thought it would just be kind of interesting to do a skin-like werewolf. And a couple of my other references like these didn't have fur on them, and I actually really liked that. As you can see, they also had different shapes of their heads. Like the first one, the white werewolf, actually had more like a wolf head, where these other ones were sort of more almost dog-like. That's where I ended up getting the inspiration to do some... Was that just a leaf or a bird that flew by? These are some great references for anatomy as I'm pushing my skills to learn more about not just the shapes of the anatomy, but actually how it works.
Showing like pros, man, I told them that it's money. And I own my own bars, just like it's always sunny. Ugh, thought she said something to me. We were never friends, told them I am not your buddy. Now they all call, I got some buzz like honey. Then they check the Spotify and they looking at me funny.
Now this sculpt initially kind of started as a sketch. I was going to do a bust. Now that is a bird. He's in full bird mode right now. This sculpt initially started as a sketch like I was saying before, but as I got further and further along with it, I really liked it and wanted to add it to my portfolio.
Oh my God, I'm just playing with him now, yeah. Oh my God, what she saying, say it loud, yeah. I can't respect it, I'm in the gym, but I am not flexing. Came from a Ford, I'm needing a Lexus. Shooting like Luke, I told him I'm next, shit. Oh my God, I'm just playing with him now, yeah. Oh my God, what she saying, say it loud, yeah. I can't respect it, I'm in the gym, but I am not flexing. Came from a Ford, I'm needing a Lexus. Shooting like Luke, I told him I'm next, shit. I got a ball, I told them I'm here, I'm not waiting for y'all. They hit my phone, but I ignore the call. I got the drive and I see that they stall. I bought a whip and I paid it in cash. Numbers keep growing like what's on the dash. Drop me the Addy, I pull it the maps. Dressed in a white tee, I bought it a Gap. Hitting the gas, he trailing behind. This in his games, but I stay on my grind. I told my family we all got...
Figuring out how much or how many rather, faces and vertices to use is still kind of not confusing to me, but how do I say this? Trying to use as little amount of faces and vertices as possible while getting a good topology can be a little bit frustrating still sometimes for me. And what I mean by that is I ended up getting a pretty good topology for our werewolf. However, when I went to bake my high poly to the low poly, some of my smaller details weren't baking properly. So that's where it got a little bit confusing because I went back and subdivided my low poly mesh to try to get some of those smaller details back in, and it solved some of the problems, but other ones still weren't good enough. I've been wanting to learn Substance Painter for a while, and I actually made that leap into it to start learning, and this was going to be the first piece that I was going to practice texturing with. However, I just couldn't get certain baking artifacts to go away. So I'm still working on figuring that kind of stuff out. Baking's always been really annoying for me. Sometimes I get it and it's like perfectly fine. Sometimes it's just no matter what I try, I can't get it to work. But that's just part of the process of learning. So for this piece, I ended up just texturing it in Blender and using the texture painting there, which I really wish Blender had like a layer system for the texture painting, like Substance Painter. That would be super nice. Maybe in the future we'll get that.
I told them all like a million times, waiting for me, but they know I'll arrive. What I'm doing to y'all, it should be a crime. I told them, oh my God, I'm just playing with them now, yeah. Oh my God, what she saying, say it loud, yeah. I can't respect it, I'm in the gym, but I am not flexing. Came from a Ford, I'm needing a Lexus. Shooting like Luca, I told him I'm next, shit. Oh my God, I'm just playing with them now, yeah. Oh my God, what she saying, say it loud, yeah. I can't respect it, I'm in the gym, but I am not flexing. Came from a Ford, I'm needing a Lexus. Shooting like Luca, I told him I'm next, shit. Shooting like Luca, said that I can't, but I told him I do it. Up in the morning, I sweated it's brewing. Hitting these goals like I play for the Bruins. Thought that I told them my cape, but was mine. They throwing shade, but I'm still gonna shine. They check my wrist and they know it's my time. They ain't seen the numbers, I swear that they blind. But that's how it goes, they know when I'm chose. Need me the flowers, not talking no rose. Was whipping the Chevy, I need me the ghost. I need the money for me and my bros.
There's also a few changes I made within our sculpt, like the teeth. Initially, I just sculpted some spheres into like the canines and the back teeth and all that. And they were good at first, but the more I looked at them, the more I ended up not liking them. And also, I knew that the way that I did them, I would have to retopologize them, and that would be kind of annoying. So what I did instead is I just brought in a cube and subdivided them once or twice and just made really simple teeth, which made it really easy to UV unwrap and set seams instead of having to do the whole retopology process for the teeth as a separate entity.
I'm on my prime, I'm feeling like Steph. I get my shot and I promise it's wet. Waited too long, but I told him I'm next. I need my bag, just want me to check. Cable was mine, I ain't taking less. I told them all I'm as real as it gets. This shit be a shit, dog, I'm cutting the net. I thought I told them I came for my spot. They told me time is like money, that's why I done made it. I sweat it, I'm spending a lot. They never seen the hours I put in to get here. They only just see what I got. I spent my time in the lab all this winter. I sweated the summer is gonna be hot. I cannot lie on this shit. I paid a lot for this shit. They got some money to spend. I got some money to get. I gotta talk on this shit. I swear I told them I'm here. I feel like I'm in the league. I just keep making these hits. Took a little break, but I swear that I'm back. Going ask anybody, put a city on the map. They was trying to call when they sent a contract, but I never reply unless they send it for the match.
Towards the end, I also used some alpha textures. I learned how to make my own alpha textures to try to just get some texture on the skin, just so it didn't look like a fully clean, smooth animal. It took a few tries, but I ended up finding one that I liked. Actually, I think two that I liked. One was kind of more of a wrinkly thing, which I put on the underside of his neck and like on the knees and stuff. Overall, I was really happy with how the alpha textures made the skin kind of seem more textured and a little bit more rough. I ended up looking up hairless dogs. I think like, I don't remember the exact breed, but it was like some sort of Egyptian breed of dog. I use those as my reference images for the skin. They're really like pale, but they have this like bluish gray sort of spots, not spots, but this bluish gray into like a pink slash peach color hue skin in the different parts. And that's what I use for my reference for the skin.
They was trying to call when they sent a contract, but I never reply unless they send it for the max. Everything I said, man, they know it's all facts. Told them if they want a verse, then they go and get text. Told them last year that I'm coming for it all. Go and check the numbers, dog, I'm putting up stats. Yeah. I'm on my prime, I'm feeling like Steph. I get my shot and I promise it's wet. Waited too long, but I told him I'm next. I need my bag, just want me to check. Cable was mine, I ain't taking less. I told them all I'm as real as it gets. The shit be a shit, dog, I'm cutting the net. Oof.
After the full render process, I ended up going back through and changing the color of the teeth. Initially, they were just kind of one color and they didn't look bad, but I figured that I could make them look better. And so what I did was I ended up texture painting them like with a little bit more of a slight yellow hue, a slight yellow hue to be a little bit more stained, as well as adding some darker colors up near the gums to almost make it look like a little bit of gunk in there. I didn't add in gunk as like a mesh, but I added some darker colors at the base of the teeth because I'm sure they don't do much flossing. Another change that I added in was I started with some placeholder eyes that I've just had forever and I've used on a bunch of different projects. I had them in just to help me get an idea of like the eye sockets and what I'd want the eye colors to be. Initially, I thought it was pretty cool to have both eyes in there, but I knew that I wanted to do some like frost blue eyes for some reason. And I knew I wanted to try making my own eyes through sculpting and, trying to make a cool little iris with some different patterns in there. I saw a video on YouTube from Jared Chavez. I saw a video on how to sculpt some eyes, and I decided to give it my own little shot. And so that's what I did. And I knew that I've seen like pictures of lions that have gone in fights or different animals, which, by the way, looking at reference images for that kind of stuff is not very fun. You see some kind of brutal stuff. I don't necessarily like to see animals harmed like that. So just to be completely transparent, I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian either. So it's a little hypocritical, but I don't like to see that. But I looked up a picture of a lion that had gotten a scar and its eye was messed up. And I wanted to replicate that for my werewolf, which I put a scar across, or more like an open wound. It wasn't really quite scarred up, across his eye and snout. And so I tried some different variations for the eyes, as you can see here, and ended up getting something that I really liked. Initially, I was just playing with the roughness and trying to get that like almost like cataract look in the eye. But I wasn't quite getting a result I liked, so I went back and added some darker colors and even added some more color into the white of the eye to make it look agitated and not kind of like a healthy eye. But in my end result, I was really happy with what I got there.
I feel like Mike Jordan, give me the rock and I'm scoring. Hey, came from the bottom, that's foreign. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. Oof, hey, I gotta flex. I need a Nike bag, give me the check. I need the money and power, respect, but I promise I'm repping the O to the dead. Hey, oof, I told them out of my way. I don't got nothing to say. Now they can't run at my pace. Yeah, they know that we ain't the same. 402, we rap the game. I told them this ain't a game.
But at the end, I ended up throwing in kind of just a dirty rig. I don't do much rigging, so I just threw in a dirty rig and worked out a few of the complications, but there was still definitely issues with it, but it was good enough to get the poses that I want across. I wanted to do like a howling pose and also one where he was on all fours just to get some different renders instead of just the up close, face shot like this one. Overall though, I'm really happy with how this came out. I learned a lot and I'm still continuing to learn a lot. Just to go over, like, I'm learning more about anatomy and I'm trying to get to the substance painter level. So I'm learning more about texture baking and getting my UVs properly done. So this is just like an overview video if you couldn't quite tell. I'll upload the time lapses because I know some people prefer just, putting on the little music and seeing the sculpting from start to finish. You can go back and I actually have like a few parts of this already in time-lapse form. So I just need to add the rest of them. I wanted to add a little bit more of my personality into these videos, which is why I'm doing this commentary and talking about my process. And so I can go back and see my journey, not only as a sculptor, but as a content creator, and this is another step for me. So if you guys have any good tips on UV baking for high poly sculpts to low poly meshes, I've watched like most of the videos on YouTube that I can find, as well as reading forums, and I was still having trouble getting answers and solutions for like really small details. I know it's not always going to be perfect, but there was just certain spots that I may have been able to get away with, but at the same time, they probably would have been noticeable enough. Anyway, stay tuned. I have a couple more pieces already started, and I'm pretty sure I have another idea that I really want to start making, which would be like sea creature, I think. Anyways, thank you guys all for watching. I really appreciate the support, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace. Goodbye.
What up, say? This that shit to make them all go dummy. Now I got bread, they all want something from me. Showing like pros, man, I told them that it's money. And I own my own bars, just like it's always sunny. Ugh, thought she said something to me. We were never friends, told them I am not your buddy. Now they all call, I got some buzz like honey. Then they check the Spotify and they looking at me funny. I don't blame you, dog, that's how this shit goes. Same two paths, we just pick different roads. Glue on the safe, I just stuck to the code. Now they tell me that I'm driven, bro, I already drove. So diverse, got too many flows. Checks coming in, got too many O's. Remember in the past, had too many lows. Now when I look around, got too many bros. Don't like to spend it, I told them I'll save it. Now that I'm here, dog, I seen it, they hate it. I'm making hits like I'm running those bases, and they taking shots, bro, I know that they faded. This that shit to make them all go dummy. Now I got bread, they all want something from me. Showing like pros, man, I told them that it's money. And I own my own bars, just like it's always sunny.